Today we learned about plus 2 biology chapter 11 organism and populations. Organism and populations. The first term denoted in the textbook, that is levels of biological organization. Levels of biological organization. Biological organization starts from macromolecules to biomes. The lowest macromolecules to the highest biomes. It starts from macromolecules. Examples like proteins, carbohydrate, fat molecules, etc. like macromolecules. Then cells. Cells with different types of macromolecules. Then tissues. Next level, tissue. Tissue is a group of cells with a common structure, origin and function. First start from macromolecules, then to cells, then tissue, tissues together to form organs, different types of organs, then organ system, example the digestive system, respiratory system, excretory system, etc. are different types of organ systems with different types of organs. Then organism, that means living organisms included human beings. Next level, population. Population is an assemblage of similar organisms. Organisms means all living organisms. Then next level, communities. A community with different populations. Community includes different types of populations. Next, ecosystem. Ecosystem is an independent form of organization with all levels of organisms, that from abiotic to biotic. It is a self-sustained system. Then large ecosystems are known as biomes. Examples oceans, desert, etc. are examples of biomes. Macromolecules, cells, tissue, organ system, organism and population, communities, ecosystem and biomes are the different levels of biological organizations. Next term, population. Population. What is population? A population is an assemblage of similar organisms belonging to the same species. Example, human beings. Living together at a place at given time. Population is an assemblage of similar species living together at one place at a given time. Example, bacteria in a culture plate, lotus plants in a pond, cormorants in a wetland. Ecology related to evolution and genetics. Ecology closely related evolution and genetics. We already learned about evolution. Nature only select organisms with a desirable character, that is natural selection. What is natural selection? Nature only select the organisms or living beings with desirable characters. The wild species have resisting capacity. Next, Characteristics of population. Characteristics of any population. There are different terms: density, birth rate or natality, death rate or mortality, dispersal, etc. are attached to the term the characteristics of population. First, density. The density of a population directly depend upon natality, mortality, immigration and emigration. First, density. The number of individuals per unit area at a given time, known as density. The number of individuals, any type of individuals per unit area, we can calculate with square kilometer area at a given time. Example, within 1 year. The number of individuals per unit area at a given time is known as population density. Next, birth rate or natality. The rate at which new individuals are born and added to the population. The rate at which new individuals are born and added to the existing population under given environmental conditions is termed natality. It is usually expressed in terms of birth per 1000 per year. Birth per 1000 per year. That means within an year included in a members of 1000 peoples, how many newborns are added to a particular population within a year per 1000. Next, death rate or mortality. The loss of individuals from a population due to death under given environmental condition. It also expressed in terms of number of persons dead per 1000 per year. Next term, dispersal. Dispersal. The movement of individuals of a population. The inner and outer movement of individuals of a population out of a region on a permanent basis termed immigration. Immigration means the movement of individuals of a population out of a region on a permanent basis termed emigration. Next, immigration. Immigration refers to the movement of individuals into a new area. That is, emigration going away permanently from an area, and immigration, that is influx of new individuals into the area. Dispersal include both immigration and emigration. Next, parameters of population. Parameters of population. That is density, immigration, mortality, natality. Density depends upon these four factors. Natality and immigration are the adding, and mortality and immigration, it is the getting out of the members from a population. Next, the age distribution. Age distribution. It refers to the proportion of individuals. The age distribution refers to the proportion of individuals of different age groups in a population. It is broadly divided into three groups. The age distribution broadly divided into three age groups: pre-reproductive group, reproductive group, and post reproductive group. Pre-reproductive group comprises of juvenile individuals or children. Reproductive group consists of individuals capable of reproduction. Post-reproductive groups contains aged individuals who are incapable of reproduction. Rapidly growing population have more numbers of reproductive age group. Rapidly growing populations have more numbers of reproductive age group. A stationary population contains even distribution of all age groups. A declining, that is reducing population contains large portion of old peoples like Kerala and USA. Next term, sex ratio. Sex ratio, it is an important aspect of population. It refers to the ratio between females and male individuals in a population. Sex ratio refers to the ratio between male and female individuals in a population. Next term, population growth. Next term, that is population growth. The growth, stability or decline. Three parameters. The growth, stability or decline in number of individuals in a population is influenced by its relationship with the environment. In case of different types of animals like arthropods, different types of mammals, etc. The population growth influenced by the environmental condition. The growth, stability or declinity in number of individuals in a population is influenced by its relationship with the environment. The patterns of growth with time depicted by population growth, that is growth curve, it may be of two types. There are two types of growth curves. Two types of growth curves. One J-shaped growth curve and sigmoid type of growth curve. There are two types of growth curves. First, J-shaped growth curve. J-shaped growth curve. It is also known as exponential growth curve. Exponential growth. J-shaped growth curve, also known as exponential growth curve. It is typical of species which reproduce rapidly and greatly affected by seasonal influencing. It is typical of the species which reproduce rapidly and greatly affected by seasonal fluctuations. Environmental factors such as light, temperature and rainfall, etc. are directly influence the growth. This type of exponential growth occurs in nature when a population has abundant supply of resources. After reaching a peak, there is a sudden decline due to the environmental or other factors. Example, in case of fishes and other arthropods, they are abundant or growth is increased at monsoon. At monsoon season, the rich of or plenty of water, food and such other facilities. So the number of individuals tremendously increases. Then after a particular season or after this monsoon, the food, shelter, etc. like factors and sunlight and the amount of phytoplanktons etc. are reduced. Then the fishes and other members become reduced suddenly. So such type of growth curve is known as J-shaped or exponential growth curve. It is typical of species which reproduce rapidly and greatly affected by seasonal fluctuations. Next, S-shaped or sigmoid growth curve. It has a lag phase, growth phase and a stable phase. Lag phase, growth phase and a stable phase. Here you can utilize this note. Then at the lag phase, that is exponential growth phase, natality and mortality remain small. At a lag or exponential growth phase, natality and mortality remain small. When growth phase begins, rapid increase in size of population. When growth phase begins, rapid increase in size of population occurs as there is plenty of food and less competition. That is growth phase or transition stage. Eventually food and water or some sources become limited and population enter in stable or plateau phase. Then natality and mortality in this third phase become almost equal. This phase is known as stable phase or plateau phase. At lag phase, that is exponential growth phase, natality and mortality remain small. When growth phase begins, rapid increase in size, population occurs and there is plenty of food and no competition. That is the growth phase or transition phase. Eventually, food and or water or some source become limiting and population enter stable or phase or plateau phase. At this third phase, natality and mortality become almost equal. This phase is known as stable phase or a plateau phase. In case of exponential growth curve, that denoted with a formula, that is here n is population size, d birth rate, d death rate, the increase or decrease in n, capital N during a unit time period, t, then t dn by dt will be dn by dt is equal to b minus d into n. Then Last, dn by dt is equal to Rn. In integral form of exponential growth, equal as nt is equal to n0 e raised to rt. Next, the integral form of exponential growth. The equation nt is equal to n0 e raised to rt. Here nt is equal to population density after time n0, that is population density at time 0, or intrinsic rate of natural increase, and e is equal to base of natural logarithms. These equations are denoted with the exponential growth curve. Next, case of logistic curve. The equation dn by dt is equal to Rn k minus n by k. Here n is equal to population density at a time, r is equal to intrinsic rate of natural increase, k is equal to carrying capacity. Next term, life history variation. Ecologists suggested that life history traits, that means characters, of organisms have related to the abiotic and biotic components of the habitat in which they live. Ecologists suggested that the life history traits or characters of organisms have related to the abiotic, that is non-living, and biotic, living components of the habitat. Habitat is the place where the organism live. According to Darwin's fitness theory, under a particular set of selection pressures, organisms evolve or select most efficient reproductive strategy. They have the capability to change their reproductive strategy. According to Darwin's fitness theory, under a particular set of selection pressures, organisms select most efficient reproductive strategy. Examples: some organisms breed only once in their lifetime. Examples: bamboo, Pacific salmon fish, etc. They only reproduce once in their lifetime. That is one reproductive strategy, one type of reproductive strategy to survive from the pressures. Some breed many times in their lifetime. Some species breed many times in their lifetime. Example: most birds and mammals. Third strategy: some produce large number of small sized offsprings or individuals or children. Example: oysters, pelagic fishes. Fourth strategy: some produce small number of large sized offsprings, birds and mammals. These are the different strategies of reproduction. Next heading: different types of population interactions. Different types of population interactions. There are positive interactions, negative interactions, and neutral interactions. Population interactions. Population interactions. The interaction that occurs among the different individuals of the same species is known as intraspecific interaction. There are two types of interactions, or mingling. Interactions means mingling or dependency. There are two types of interactions. First, intraspecific interaction. Intraspecific interactions. That means the interactions that occur among different individuals of the same species. Next, interspecific interaction. Interspecific interaction. The interaction among individuals of the different species in a community. The interaction among individuals of the different species in a community is termed interspecific interaction. That means a community with different types of species. So, these different types of species interact together. Such interaction is known as interspecific interactions. Next term, competition. Competition. There is two types of competition also. We can see that is interaction between organisms belong to the same trophic level often involve competition. The interaction may be beneficial or harmful. The competition between members of the same species is known as interspecific competition, and the competition between different species of a community termed interspecific competition. That like the interaction. Competition. Interactions between organisms belonging to the same trophic level. There are different trophic levels. We learn about food chain. There are different trophic levels. First trophic level, second, third and fourth. Then interaction between organisms belonging to the same trophic level often involved competition. Example, in a particular area there are different types of herbivores. They interact and compete for food. The interactions may be beneficial. There are different types of interactions: beneficial interaction, harmful interaction and neutral interactions. Here we can note different types of interactions: species A, species B, and name of interaction. In case of mutualism, two species are beneficial, but in competition two of them are harmful. In predation, the predator get benefit and the prey become harmful. It also in same case that parasitism, the host plant become harmful and the ectoparasite or endoparasite become beneficial in this type of interaction, that is parasitism. Then in case of commensalism, one member become beneficial and others become neutral. There is no benefit or harmful effect. And also in amensalism, one get harmful, other become neutral. First, predation. First interaction, predation. In this type of interaction, predator captures, kill and eat an animal of another species called prey. In this type of interaction, predator captures, kill and eat an animal of another species called prey. Example, vulture and rat. The vulture is predator and the rat is prey. The predator naturally benefits from this relationship while the prey is harmed. Example, sparrow eating seeds. Sparrow get benefit and the seeded plants become harmful effect. Animal eating plants. In case of herbivores, tiger catch rabbit. This type of interaction help for maintaining food chain. This type of predation helps for maintaining the food chain and control the overpopulation of prey. In case of exotic, that is outsider species introduced in an area. In case of exotic outsider species introduced in an area, they spread in vast area because the absence of natural predator. Example, pricky pear cactus. Finally, the invasive cactus was brought under control only after a cactus feeding predator, a moth. In biological control methods adopted in agriculture, pest control are based on the ability of predator to regulate prey population. Predators maintaining species diversity in a community. Example, the rocky intertidal communities of the American Pacific coast, the starfish disaster is an example of important predator. When all the starfish were removed from intercoastal area, more than 10 species of invertebrates exist or perished within a year because of interspecific competition. Here is a beautiful example of interspecific competition. Example, rocky intertidal communities of American Pacific coast, the starfish disaster is an important predator. When all the starfish were removed from intertidal region or area, more than 10 species of invertebrates exist or perished within a year because of interspecific competition. We already discussed about the interspecific competition and intraspecific competition. Some defense mechanism of prey. Next topic, some defense mechanisms of prey. First, camouflage of insects and frogs. Camouflage. Camouflage of insects and frogs. That is one of defense mechanism. Their cryptical coloration help for hiding from predator. Next, presence of poison. Monarch butterflies with poison. They acquired this poison when at the time or stage of caterpillar feeding on poisonous weed. Monarch butterflies with poison. That occurs when at the stage of caterpillar feed on poisonous weed. We already learned about metamorphosis in the life cycle of butterflies. They are passing through 4 different stages. The third stage, second stage, that is caterpillar. First stage egg, second stage caterpillar, third pupa, and fourth adult. The caterpillar acquire poison when they eat or feed the poisonous plants. Third example of defense mechanism of prey, that is plants attain the capabilities of some defense mechanisms like thorns, poison, help them to survive from phytophagus. Phytophagus means animals feed plant juice and other parts. That means phytophagus. Plants attain capability of some defense mechanism like thorns and poison. Presence of poison help them to survive from phytophagus, that is animals feed plant juice and other parts. Examples. Examples of these cases: thorns of cactus and acacia, poison of calotropis. This poison is cardiac with cardiac glycosidases, injurious to animals. But some chemicals like nicotine, caffeine, quinine opium, etc. are produced from such type of plants. Actually, these chemicals harmful to animals, but that have some beneficial properties also. Next topic, competition. Next topic, competition. This is an interaction between two populations. Competition means the interaction between two populations in which both species are harmed to some extent. Both species get a harmful effect. Competition occurs when two populations or species. Competition between the members of population or species. Both need a vital resource that is in short supply. The vital resource could be food, water, shelter, nesting site, mates or space, etc. The competition is one type of interaction between two populations in which both species are harmed to some extent. They compete for some food supply, water, shelter, nesting site, mates or space. Then interspecies competition and intraspecies competition. We already discussed about this two type of competition. Then first, interspecies competition occurring between individuals of the two different species occurring in a habitat. Interspecies competition means this competition occurring between individuals of the two different species occurring in a habitat. Habitat means the living place. Intraspecies competition occurs between individuals of the same species. Intra means between same species. Inter means between different species. Examples of interspecies competition. Interspecific competition examples. In some shallow South American lakes, visiting flamingos, that is one type of birds, and resident fishes of the lake compete for zooplanktons. In some shallow South American lake, visiting flamingos, birds and resident fishes, the native fishes, compete for zooplanktons in the lake as food. What is zooplanktons? Unicellular animals. Unicellular animals that include zooplanktons. Phytoplanktons means unicellular plants that float. These two types of planktons float on the surface of the water bodies. Most of the fishes, birds, etc. utilize these organisms as food. The feeding efficiency of one species reduced due to the presence of other species. Second example, the Abingdon tortoise in Galapagos Islands. The Abingdon tortoise in Galapagos Island become extinct or perished within a decade after goats introduced in islands. Next term, competitive release. Competitive release. A species whose distribution restricted to a small geographical area because of the presence of a competitively superior species. A species whose distribution restricted to a small geographical area because of the presence of a competitively superior species is found to expand its distributional range dramatically when the competing species is experimentally removed. That is known as competitive release. A species whose distribution restricted to small geographical area because of the presence of a competitively superior species The competing species is experimentally removed. Example, Cannell's elegant field experiment showed that on the rocky sea coasts of Scotland, the larger and comparatively superior Barnacle's balanus dominates the intertidal area and excludes the smaller Barnacle chathamalis from that zone. The dominating species Barnacle balanus restrict the spreading or development of the population of chathamalis, Barnacle chathamalis from that zone. Next topic, Gauss competitive exclusion principle. Gauss competitive exclusion principle. That this principle states that two closely related species competing for same resource cannot coexist indefinitely, and the competitively inferior one will be eliminated eventually. Gauss competition exclusion principle states that two closely related species competing for same resource, that may be food or shelter, cannot coexist indefinitely, and competitively inferior one will be eliminated eventually. That is like natural selection. Next topic, mechanism of resource partitioning. Mechanisms of resource partitioning. If two species compete for the same resource, that may be food or shelter, they avoid competition and choosing different times for breeding or different foraging patterns. According to resource partitioning mechanism or principle, if two species competing for the same resource, they avoid competition and choosing different times for feeding or different foraging patterns. Example, MacArthur showed that 5 closely related species of warblers living on the same tree were able to avoid competition and coexist due to behavioral differences in their foraging activities. They choose different times for feeding or sheltering. MacArthur showed that 5 closely related species of warblers, that is birds, small birds living on a same tree, were able to avoid competition and coexist due to behavioral differences. Next, interaction parasitism. In this type of interaction, one species harmed and other benefits. Parasites get nourishment and often shelter from host. There may be ectoparasite or endoparasite. Ectoparasites living on the surface area or body of the host, and endoparasites living inside the body of the host. Parasites have special adaptations for survival. Example, loss of unnecessary sense organs, presence of adhesive organs and hooks. In case of leech, we can see hooks and suckers. Liver fluke also have hooks and suckers. Then Tinea also have hooks. Loss of unnecessary sense organs, presence of adhesive organs like suckers and hooks for cling on the host body. Loss of digestive system, because in case of internal parasites, they suck completely digested food or blood from the host. So there is no need of digestive system. High reproductive capacity, because they only can survive within huge number of members. In case of worms, they need to survive from the high pH of HCl of our digestive system. In life cycle of parasites are often complex. The life cycle of parasites are often complex. Example, involving one or two intermediate host or vectors. Digestive parasites, they known as digenetic parasites. They involve one or two intermediate hosts or vectors. In case of malarial parasite, human being is the primary and the female Anopheles mosquito, that is the vector, is the secondary host. The human liver fluke depends on two intermediate hosts, that is a snail and a fish, to complete its life cycle. Third, the malarial parasite we already discussed, feed and spreading through human being and mosquito. Majority of parasites harm to host. They may produce its population density. Majority of parasites harm to hosts. The parasites may reduce the population density of hosts. Ectoparasites feed on the external surface of host organism. Example, lice on human being, ticks on dogs. Many marine fishes are infested with ectoparasitic copepods. The plant parasite Cuscuta growing on hedge plant. Cuscuta lost its chlorophyll and leaves in the course of evolution. It is a complete parasite, suck nutrition from host plant. The Cuscuta is a complete parasite that lost chlorophyll and leaves in the course of evolution. The parasite suck nutrition from host plant, that is the hedge plant. Next example, female mosquito is a parasite for man and animal. The endoparasites live inside the body of host, especially inside liver, kidney, lungs, RBC, etc. The morphological and anatomical features adapted for the survival and reproduction inside the body of host. Next example, brood parasitism. What is brood parasitism? The bird cuckoo or quail lay egg inside the nest of crow for hatching. The size and color of these two birds look alike. Next, commensalism. Next, interaction, commensalism. This is the interaction in which one species benefit and the other is neither harmed nor benefited. Example, orchid growing on mangroves, that is epiphyte. Orchids are epiphytes that are growing on mango trees. Second, barnacles growing on the back of whale, help for movement. Third, cattle sit on grazing cattle. Clownfish living between sea anemones, that for protection, are examples of commensalism. Next, mutualism. Next interaction, mutualism. This interaction refers benefits on both the interacting species. Example, lichens. The algal partner or phycobiont and a fungal partner, that is a mycobiont. The interaction between the phycobiont and mycobiont, that is known as lichen. Lichen, the algal partner get protection. That may be algae or cyanobacteria. Lichens are example of mutualism. Both species get benefits. Next, mycorrhiza also shows mutualism. Association between fungi and root of higher plants known as mycorrhiza. In case of mycorrhiza, fungi helps the plants for absorption of nutrients. The fungi that live on the bark area of plants. Fungi help the plants for absorption of nutrients from the soil. Plants provide energy yielding carbohydrate to fungi. Next topic, plant-animal relationship in mutualism. Plant-animal relationship in mutualism. First, plant need help from animals for pollination. Plants provide pollen, nectar, juice and nutrition for seed dispersal. In case of cheaters, animals try to steal nectar without aiding pollination is known as cheaters. Plant-animal interactions often involve co-evolution in the mutualism. Many species of fig trees, example of mutualism. Many species of fig trees, there is a tight one-to-one relationship with the pollinator species of wasp. Fig can be pollinated only by its partner wasp, that is peculiarity, partner wasp. Fig can be pollinated only by its partner wasp species and no other species. Female wasp use the fig fruit for oviposition, that is laying egg. The developing seeds nourishing the wasp larvae. Third example, the Mediterranean orchid Ophrys employs sexual deceit to get pollination done by a species of bee. The Mediterranean orchid Ophrys employs sexual deceit to get a pollination done by a species of bee. One petal of its flower bears an uncanny resemblance of the female of the bee in size, color and markings. The male bee is attracted to what it perceives as a female. The pseudo copulates with the flower and during that process is dusted with the flower and pollination occurs. If any slight change of flower during evolution may adversely affect the process of such a copulation.